What's going on, YouTube? In this dose, I'm going to be reviewing some of the erroneous and exaggerated claims, misconceptions, and quotes that I've heard echoed throughout the red pill scene, as how I am a certified relationship coach and a behavioral scientist in the field of psychology who's been studying psychology, especially female behavior, for about the past decade. I need to share with you guys what is a more accurate and objective representation of what women actually do, so that you guys can be better adept at understanding women, as opposed to having these hopeless perspectives about female nature based on what you assume to be true, or based on what you heard somebody else's experience to be, or what your experiences may be. But before I do that, you guys already know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications, share the content with your family, friends, colleagues, and peers, so that they can ingest the Q pill as well. Let's get a dose of this shit. So yesterday I was live on Instagram and we were discussing female nature, and I was talking about the red pill. Somebody asked me my opinion on the red pill, and they said because the red pill almost ruined their relationship. Them listening to the red pill almost ruined their relationship. And I thought to myself, and I said, well, yeah, that'll probably happen if you subscribe to some of the tenets that have been claimed throughout the red pill space, because a lot of those things deal with the brutal realities of female nature, which do exist, but they don't exactly tell you how to maintain relationships. They tell you what men have experienced because they're unaware of what female nature is or what women will do, but they still don't tell you how to maintain healthy relationships with women. And at the end of the day, that is the whole point. The whole point is to teach men female nature, how to navigate it in a way to where they can develop healthy relationships with women, sustain healthy relationships with women. But it's going to be hard to do that if the claims and ideas around female nature are so far exaggerated or misinterpreted that it essentially just has a counterproductive effect when you're trying to be successful with women. So I want to go over a couple of these tenets that I've heard repeated over and over, some of these beliefs that I've seen over and over about the realities of female nature. Now, let me just preface it by saying, listen, I completely understand, for everyone who's watching, women can be brutal. Women are solipsistic to a degree. They lack accountability to a degree. They're selfish to a degree. They cheat. They lie. Women are not perfect. And that's what it boils down to. Women are not perfect. Women are human beings. They're biased. They're distorted. They get angry, they're bossy, they can even come off as evil sometimes. We understand these things. However, a lot of these behaviors that women exhibit are over exaggerated when they actually require a lot of nuance, when there's some intricacies in their behavior. And you have to have a more thorough, comprehensive understanding of why women do what they do, and the circumstances and situations, the caveats, the stipulations that lead to what one man may experience with a woman that another man won't. Because let's face it, it's not always the woman's fault. Men are not perfect either. Men are just as flawed. Men are just as solipsistic. Men are just as biased. Men are just as distorted. The only thing is, men are problem solvers. So we seek solutions. So when we see something go wrong, we analyze it. We assess it to see how we can correct it or improve it in the future. And we'll learn from our mistakes and develop a bit more foresight than what women tend to have. However, that does not in any way, shape, form, or fashion validate a man's perception of female behavior when it comes to why he believes she does things based on his own anecdotes or hearsay from groups online who seem to come together and share their common experiences or common anecdotes with what they've experienced with women. The number one thing we need to remember about women, and never ever forget when it comes to women, is women run off emotion. The number one thing I see men do in these red pill spaces is act as if women are consciously planning the things that they do, are consciously planning to cheat, are consciously planning to fuck you over, are consciously planning to take advantage of you, are consciously planning to disrespect you. This is not conscious. These are not things that women do consciously to men. There are things that happen as a side effect of her losing attraction to you in one way or another. And that's what I'm going to break down. Women run off of emotion. So if you know as a man that women run off emotion, then you know as a man the best way to keep a woman engaged and invested is to what? Appeal to her emotions. A lot of times in relationships and marriages, the majority of the time they fail because it's predicated on the basis of a woman's emotions, meaning she feels something in the relationship is off or is wrong. And a lot of times that is due to a lack of intimacy. That also is why women cheat. It's due to her being emotionally out of it, emotionally checked out, because it can also be tied back to lack of intimacy. Everything predominantly stems from the degree of emotional investment that she has in her mate. That's due to a myriad of factors, a plethora of factors. It's not just one thing, and women aren't just going to leave you because you lack in one area. It's often multifactorial, and that's what often leads to women doing the things that we have come to learn is a brutal part of their nature. So let's start with the risk-averse perception, the cope. She's not yours. It's just your turn. Now, there's an element of validity in this cope. The idea that she's not going to be yours forever. She's going to date you. You guys are going to break up. She's going to move on. Yes, that is possible. If you know you're in a situationship, you're dealing with a 304, or you have no intent of committing long-term to this woman or marrying this woman, then yeah, this would be valid. But if you were in a relationship with a woman, she's definitely yours. And it's not just your turn. And she's yours because that's the neurophysiology of what's going on. When you're with a woman and she's with you, y'all plan on being together forever. Those are the predominant feelings that overthrow the prefrontal cortex when you're infatuated, when you're in the stages of romantic love. That's why you become territorial. That's why she has positive illusions about you, who you are, who she thinks you are, her idea of you, and she wants to be with you forever at that point in time. Now, what happens is you'll naturally transition into companionate love. Those endorphins, they will die down, and she'll have more clarity about your flaws. You'll have more clarity about her flaws, and those things could potentially cause conflict if you have not built intimacy, which is what leads to the demise of a lot of relationships. A lack of intimacy, and thinking that the decline of that romantic high that you experienced in the beginning of the relationship is somehow indicative that you guys are no longer in love, or the spark has died and now it's time to leave the relationship and seek that all over again. That is the mistake a lot of women make, and that is the mistake a lot of men make if they leave those women. Typically it's not men though, typically it's women. But the reality is romantic love just turns into a form of long-term attachment, which is still modulated by vasopressin, oxytocin, hormones that make you attached to one another and make you want to continue seeing each other and being in each other's company, even if that intense passion is no longer present. Now, you could re-spark it. You could do things to re-spark it. And that's where the she's not yours, it's just your turn comes into play. And that's where that loses validity. Because if you learn the methods that continuously spark passion, pleasure, then you can do that recurringly over and over as long as you guys are together. You can continue to make a woman fall in love with you even when it feels like you're on the verge of you guys losing each other because you no longer feel that that spark is there. You can absolutely reignite that spark over and over, and as long as you do that, it'll always be your turn. The next one is never cry or be vulnerable in front of a woman. And I can't speak to how counterproductive this is in sustaining a healthy relationship with a woman. I recently went viral in the clip where I criticized Shaq for saying you should never open up to a woman because they're going to use it against you. And I said that is the most bitch-made cognitive defense mechanism a man could utilize when dealing with a woman. And the reason being is what I just spoke of, intimacy. A woman needs intimacy in a relationship, and vulnerability is one of the ways in which you create intimacy. You cultivate intimacy in a relationship. There are masculine ways to frame your vulnerability. There are masculine ways that you can be vulnerable with a woman, and she's not just going to lose attraction to you or lose respect for you because you have a moment of being human or you shed a tear. Most of the time when a woman is invested in you, she already has positive illusions of you. Her brain is high on endorphins. She enjoys being with you. She will accept those kind of things. You have the leeway to have moments of vulnerability. You have the leeway to shed a tear. What you don't do is emotionally overwhelm her or cry too often, complain too often, and not have a solution ready and available. And you never are supposed to seem like you're defeated when you're vulnerable with her. But you can absolutely have a moment of vulnerability. And a lot of times that sparks even closer connection in a relationship relative to what you may believe, because of the red pill. Being vulnerable actually induces closeness when it comes to women in a relationship. Do you know why? Because intimacy for a woman is what sex is to a man. It elicits the same powerful response of dopamine and oxytocin in a woman's brain when she feels closer to you. And when you utilize being vulnerable as one of the methods to get closer to her, it makes her happy. It makes her release oxytocin. It makes her release dopamine. She feels like she understands you more. She feels like she understands you better. It makes her feel closer. And therefore, it builds the intimacy. The next one, y'all gonna enjoy this one. Female hypergamy. The idea that women want the top guy. Yes. There's a lot of validity to that. Women do want the top guy. It's female nature. It's hardwired into their evolutionary biology, their evolutionary psychology. They do want the top guy. However, where this translates into a more cynical view of female nature is when you think that she's always seeking the better guy, even when she's in a relationship. That contradicts the idea of women getting attached, being in love, having positive illusions of the man that they're in love with, and wanting to be with him for the next 6 to 8 months guaranteed, as long as that stage of infatuation is still present. Yes, women seek the best mate for them, but women also will look at the guy that they're dating and assume that he's the best mate for her. She's closed off to other mating opportunities with other men because she's fully invested in you. Her mind can't focus on other men. She's fully invested in you. Her mind doesn't see other men. She's fully invested in you. Her mind doesn't want other men. She's fully invested in you. So that contradicts the idea that women are just going to get with you and look for other men. They're not. She's going to be loyal and faithful to you until you guys start to have conflict, till you guys start to have disagreements, till you guys start to have problems, until she starts to feel like you don't understand her, she doesn't understand you, and you guys don't like being around each other. Then at that point, you are no longer the best man for her in her eyes, because there's way too many flaws that are present in the relationship to sustain that idea. So as long as you can keep being who you are, as long as you can keep making her feel attracted to you, as long as you can keep sexually satisfying her, as long as you could keep building on the intimacy between you guys, she's not going to go anywhere. She's not going to focus on anybody else. Women aren't just looking for other men to get with when they're in relationships. That defeats the whole purpose of them getting attached, which is to have kids by the man that they're getting attached to. That is not how the female brain works. That's how it works before they find a guy. Once they find a guy and they want to be with that guy, at that point, she thinks you're the best man for her. And only a whole bunch of conflict and chaos and lack of intimacy within you guys' relationship is going to change that perspective. So what do? You do your best to mitigate that conflict and that chaos so that she still remains attracted and in love and respectful and loyal to you. This next one is interesting. Female promiscuity and women cheating more than men. Are you guys not aware that women are more sexually selective than men? Are you guys not aware that women have kids? Are you guys not aware that women have to carry the brunt of reproduction, as in she's the one who carries the baby for 9 months? She has to breastfeed. She has to tend to that baby more than a man. So by that very law of nature, by that very law of sexual selectivity, where would it be advantageous for a woman to just run around being promiscuous or engaging in infidelity? Now, I know you guys, some of you guys have been cheated on. Some of you guys watching this video may have been cheated on. Some of you guys watching this video may have been the guy that a woman has cheated with. But that doesn't mean women are super promiscuous and women cheat more than men. Have y'all ever heard of a nomological network? A nomological network is evidence that can be cross-referenced. So, for women to be more promiscuous and for women to cheat more than men, women would have to have higher sex drives. Women would have to have a higher desire for multiple partners. Women would have to have a higher desire for novelty. Women would have to have higher sociosexuality attitudes. Women would have to be more extroverted. Women would have to be all of these things more than men. Have higher levels of testosterone. But none of these things are true. Women don't report more sexual fantasies than men. Women don't masturbate more than men. Women don't watch porn more than men. There's not a single shred of evidence in measuring any element of human sexuality and desire for multiple partners that would conclude that women are highly promiscuous or cheat more than men. Men report cheating more than women, and women report being cheated on more than men. Men are literally more wired for sex than women are. Women are more monogamous than men are. Women get attached easier than men do. No matter how you try to slice it, dice it, manipulate it, perceive it, modify it, alter it, women are not promiscuous by nature. The average woman is not. And women do not cheat more than men. Regardless of what is said in any of these online spaces by guys who don't get women or guys who may have been cheated on because they failed to maintain the level of masculinity and drive that she was attracted to when she met them and she wanted out. Regardless of what these guys say was heard, was shared in these online spaces, was experienced, overall, women don't cheat more than men and women aren't highly promiscuous. The 80-20 rule. This idea that 20% of the men are sleeping with 80% of the women, that's not true. The majority of sex between a man and a woman happens in the confinements of a relationship. Most women who are having sex and most men who are having sex within a relationship. The outliers are the promiscuous individuals, and they're sleeping amongst themselves. This doesn't need to be a long-winded, elaborate explanation for why this isn't true, but it simply isn't true. If you want to reference dating apps, then yes, women gravitate towards a small cohort of men on dating apps because, well, women can put in what they want on dating apps, but women can't select in real life the way they do on dating apps, so it's not going to reflect reality in real life of how women date and what women look for in men. That's simple enough. 6 foot, 6 pack, 6 figures. Now that's true. I do, as cool as it is, I do like it, and there's a lot of validity to it because this would be essentially a woman's idealistic guy. 6 foot, 6 pack, 6 figures. Is this what women desire? Is this what women say in interviews they want? Is this what women say they will dismiss a man who's not tall enough or who doesn't make enough money? Yes, we've heard women say these things. But when you walk outside your door and you go to the mall, and you go to the museum, you go to the amusement park, you go to the beach, you go to the skating rink, you go to a restaurant, you go to a bar, you go to a club, you go to any setting and you see couples. Are most of the men 6 feet tall with the women? Are most of the couples that you see couples of men 6 feet tall? No, because the majority of men are not 6 feet tall. That is a very small percentage of the population. The majority of men do not make 6 figures. The majority of men do not have a 6-pack. Yet, you see couples everywhere, don't you? Of men under 6 feet, of fat men, of men who don't look like they make much of anything. They manage to find women who like them and they're in relationships with. And not only that, if you ask them how long have they been dating, a lot of them have been dating years. Why is that? Because the reality is, what's said online by women and what women actually get attracted to in real life are two different things. Do you know why? Because when you engage with a woman in real life, there are multiple things that women are attracted to. Women don't technically just dismiss men because they're not tall enough. Most women like a man who is about 4 inches or more taller than her. If you're about 4 inches or more taller than a woman, you can get her even if you're under 6 feet. The average woman is 5'4". That means most 5'8", 5'9" men can get a woman. Most men don't have a 6-pack. You don't need a 6-pack to have a woman. Women like extroverted men. They like kindness. They like generosity. They like men who can make them laugh. These are all things that men can exercise in their favor to attract a woman and keep a woman attracted to them without being 6 foot, having a six-pack, or making 6 figures. Most men and women don't even discuss how much money they make. It's the same thing as asking a woman her body count. I've never asked a woman her body count on a date. A woman has never asked me my body count on a date. And a woman has never asked me how much I make on a date. And I've never asked a woman how much she's made on a date. And I don't think the majority of people who go out on dates are sitting there asking each other private information like that will come to the surface as they continue to date later on down the line. The final one I'm going to highlight, marriage being a scam. Trust me, I completely understand the concept of marriage being a scam. Even myself am skeptical of marriage due to the marriage laws here in America. Doesn't make you want to get married knowing that women just have the freedom to walk away anytime they want to, and they can take everything from you potentially because they're upset, they're bored, or they no longer like what a relationship is. But the reality is, marriage is still an institution that is utilized to raise families and create generational wealth. And anybody who wants to raise a family and create generational wealth, your best bet of doing that is going to be to get married. Now, I understand women initiate 70% of the divorces. I completely understand. But again, what did I mention in the beginning? Intimacy. Not understanding one another. There's a reason that the first 2 factors that are involved in divorce are we've grown apart and we can't talk to one another. Both of those things speak to a lack of intimacy, which translates to poor conflict management and resolution, poor understanding, poor empathy, which means they grow tired of one another, which is why they grow apart. Now, if we knew how to vet, if we knew how to keep each other interested, if we knew how to connect, if we knew how to relate within a relationship, we start to see that the divorce rates go down because the quality of relationships would increase. The relationship satisfaction would increase. And this is simply a reality that's attributable to the fact that most men and women don't know how to date. They don't know how to vet. They don't know what it takes to understand one another. I know. I've dealt with over 500 clients, many of them married. I've saved a lot of marriages. I've helped individuals get married. I've helped couples improve their relationship satisfaction and extend the longevity of their relationships. So I know exactly what they're not doing in relationships, and I know exactly what's creating the problems in relationships because I deal with clients who have issues in their relationships and marriages. There's not enough closeness. There's not enough emotional bonding. There's too much contempt, too much criticism. They don't get along. And they stop enjoying being around each other and spending time with one another. And there are all kind of factors that play into why marriages fail outside of emotions too, that elicit emotions that turn women off. Men having drinking problems, men having problems at work, men being stressed, abuse, infidelity. All of these things occur within marriages. They all contribute to the divorce rate in one way or another, even if they aren't the predominant factor of why women initiate divorce. These things are not absent in relationships. They're still present in a lot of relationships, and they have a significant impact on if a relationship and a marriage will last or not. You know, the most interesting thing you'll realize about these online talks when it comes to the red pill and female nature is that it's not science. They try to use evolutionary psychology, which they do not have a thorough and comprehensive understanding of to begin with, to demonstrate female behavior. And while there is pieces of validity that they utilize correctly in explaining female behavior, the disregard for statistics that contradicts their narratives or their beliefs, the over-exaggerated ideas about female hypergamy and what women are attracted to and what you have to be in order to attract women, these things are erroneous interpretations of what the actual data has said, what female behavior has shown, the degree that it has shown, and the rejection of the scientific assessment of what women do and the reasons why they do it because it doesn't align with your beliefs is the very same biased, subjective, solipsistic perspectives that we complain women demonstrate. Just because you think you've experienced different doesn't mean you've accurately identified the reason for why your relationship or your experience with women have been negative. You're not using any objective metrics to determine that you're objectively accurate in why she cheated on you, why she left you, why she won't give you a chance. You may be corny, you may be lame, you may be unattractive. She feels she can do better. You may need to improve yourself. And that's the component of the red pill that I actually love. Improve yourself. But what it doesn't tell you is how to improve how you relate to women. Improve how you make a woman feel. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter most when you deal with women. How you make her feel. Not how much money you have. Not how great your six-pack is. Not how tall you are. If those were the determining factors in sustained success with women, we would never see millionaires get divorced. We would never see millionaires get cheated on. We would never see guys who are 6 foot tall get divorced, get cheated on. We would never see guys with six packs get divorced and get cheated on, which tells you that it requires a lot more to have a woman's attention, maintain her attraction and affection and respect and loyalty to and for you than simply being 6 foot, having hella money in the bank and being attractive or going to the gym, bro. Women require a lot more than that. Women are not robots. They're human beings, and they themselves crave intimacy and connection because that's what the essence of female nature is. Women crave intimacy and connections. That is how you keep a relationship with a woman. Intimacy, connections, good sex. You have to keep her brain producing oxytocin. If you can keep a woman's brain producing oxytocin, that woman is not going anywhere. That woman is not going to cheat on you. That woman is not going to leave you. And that's the goal. And that is the one thing the red pill does not teach. That's where the red pill falls short. That's where the red pill fails. You guys might want to do some self-reflection, some introspection, and exercise a little bit more objectivity and critical thought instead of exhibiting the same bias, distorted, solipsistic thinking that you complain women do when it comes to them being presented with evidence contrary to what they believe. Men are supposed to be more objective. Even when we don't understand how the evidence could say contrary to what we believe or what we thought, that's when you seek answers and try to figure out why, as opposed to rejecting it and saying, nah, fuck the statistics, bro. It's not yours, it's just your turn. All women are sluts. She gonna leave you for a better man. These hoes ain't loyal. Many of y'all perceptions of women have been shaped by other people who've said they've experienced these things with women without understanding why they've experienced these things with women. And many of your perceptions have to do with your own experiences with women, to where you've experienced something with a woman and you yourself as well don't know exactly why you've experienced this with women. And y'all just attribute it to the woman without having a thorough understanding of how the female brain works and what female nature is and what women actually require in order for them to continue liking you, being loyal to you, and respecting you. You guys' anecdotal experiences have no more weight than anybody else's anecdotal experiences. The only objective metric is the scientific method. And if that says something that doesn't align with what you believe or what you think, just because you disagree with it doesn't make it any less true. It holds more validity than you do. I'll catch you guys on the next dose of Q Pill. I'm Suave Q, aka the Q Pill. Over and out.